for the news where you are. Goodbye.
Thank you, Sophie. Just 24 hours after Southampton Football Club were thrown out of the Championship playoff final, what next for Saints? Good evening, I'm Lewis Coombs with a special South Today, live from St Mary's Stadium. The fallout from this Spygate scandal continues to dominate the city tonight. It's made shockwaves through the fan base, but also the football world, as we await the outcome of an appeal that has been launched by the club. This is what we know so far. The club have said that this has been a devastating turn in what they were not expecting. They released a statement today in which they've admitted to supporters that they deserved better, and they've said what happened was wrong. I'll be joined here at St Mary's by fans to go through how they are feeling about the news that has affected their club so deeply in the last couple of days. But first, let's take a look at how we got to this very moment. The photograph that has changed the direction of a football club. Events that took place at Middlesbrough's Rockcliffe Park training ground have taken Southampton from a team unbeaten in 21 league games and pushing for promotion to a side with its reputation in tatters and its very integrity undermined. Was it really just 8 days ago Southampton fans were cheering on their heroes in the hope of reaching Wembley, and yet today they're left in disbelief? So here's how this dramatic turn of events unfolded. On Thursday, 7th of May, members of staff at Middlesbrough's training ground approached a man caught filming first-team training on a mobile phone while stood behind a tree. Having received an official complaint from Middlesbrough, the EFL charged Southampton with spying just a day before the side's semi-final playoff first leg, which finished goalless. Just hours before the team's second leg fixture, a few days later, Saints requested more time to hold an internal review into the matter, before then beating Borough 2-1 after extra time to win through to the final. 1 week on from those scenes of celebrations, the mood has turned to one of shock, with Southampton kicked out of the playoffs after admitting 3 counts of spying on opponents. An independent disciplinary commission not only eliminated Southampton from the playoffs and reinstated Middlesbrough, Saints will also start next season on -4 points. Doubts will be placed on players' future and that of manager Tonda Eckert, who could still face individual charges from the FA. This is a football club having to deal with the fallout of a financial and reputational crisis. Yeah, there's a lot to get through here. Earlier today, the football clubs released a statement from their CEO, Phil Parsons. In that were some really interesting quotes. They've said what happened was wrong, and he apologised to the fans, players and the other clubs affected, saying that supporters deserved better from the club. The statement then went on to say, while we accept there should be a sanction, what we cannot accept is a sanction which bears no proportion to the offence. Southampton has been denied the opportunity to compete in a game worth more than £200 million, and one which means so much to our staff, players and supporters. So it's really interesting to see how that washes with the fan base. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by 2 lifelong fans, Tina Croucher and Glenn Delacour. Tina, what was your opinion of that statement? They've apologised.
Yeah, very positive. It was definitely something that was needed.
How are you feeling? What's the overriding emotion here, given all that's happened in the last couple of days?
Oh, Lewis, emotion, definitely. But it's always emotion with supporting football. But yes, gone through everything. Disappointment, ashamed, grief, anger, the works.
Glenn, turning to you, anger's a word that you've mentioned to me.
Yes.
What was your take on that statement, and how does it make you feel about your football club?
I thought the statement started okay, and then it kind of dissolved into sort of excuses and whataboutery, and I don't really think that is really going to cut it. I think if they want to win the appeal, I hope they come up with better than that. But with regards to what I feel about it, I feel the same as I did 24 hours ago, in that I'm kind of angry at everybody above the playing level, really. So that's the that's the management, and right the way up. And they seem to have specialised in the last 4 years of Sport Republic of finding ways to shoot themselves in the foot, and they seem to have done it again.
It's definitely impacted the reputation, unquestionably. Do you feel let down by your football club, Tina?
Not the club as a whole, no, but definitely somebody needs to sort what's happened out. Yes, it's very disappointed, but as a club a whole, no.
And Glenn, where does the club go from here? Obviously, we know there's an appeal. Are you hopeful at all that you kind of get reinstated?
No, no, I'm really not. I feel that once we admitted the charges and the punishment was handed out, I don't really see us as anywhere that we can go with this. I mean, if we were introducing new evidence or something, then there may be, but I don't think we are. So, I think we're clutching at straws a little bit.
Those celebratory scenes right here 8 days ago, they feel a long time ago, don't they now?
Oh, they definitely do. And it's just we all hope for a positive outcome, and definitely believe that the outcome we've received is by far too large for the crime committed. And hopefully football will win in the end, and we keep on supporting.
Well, I know you'll definitely both keep supporting. Thank you very much for your time today. Obviously, we're awaiting this outcome of the appeal. This is a story that obviously has impacted football fans like Tina and Glenn, but also the city in general. And my colleague Matt Graveling today has been around Southampton to find out what other people are thinking about this Spygate scandal.
So, a season trimmed short by a single game. News hitting Saints fans harder than a Benali tackle. The heart of a city broken. But do fans think the punishment is fair, or taking Le Tis?
Kicking us out of the competition is not fair. The play was on the pitch and everything was fair.
We've got a West Ham fan who's just joined us in the Barbers. Stu, what do you think?
I think it's disgraceful that they've been kicked out. Big fine would have been a fair punishment, I think. Maybe a point deduction next season.
Thank you. It's a little bit better. Let's find out what other people think.
We're suffering, the fans are suffering because of their stupidity.
They've been doing well, so they didn't need to do that.
Disappointed. Probably all Saints fans is just saying the same.
I know they're devastated, but they cheated. They've admitted to it. They've admitted to 3, I think. It does kind of make sense why they suddenly became so good so quickly.
I prefer that they played the game and a few more points deducted next season.
Do many customers here today care about Southampton? Adam, could I ask you?
I didn't think it was going to be so harsh. I thought perhaps points and a fine.
I think it's their own fault, to be honest with you. If you want to go spying on other clubs, you've got to take the penalty, haven't you?
It was in 1976 that Southampton won the FA Cup, and it's not wasted on fans that 50 years on from the club's greatest moment, this is one of the worst.
It was over the top. It was too much, wasn't it, Donna?
Yeah, definitely.
I see you're not buying red and white flowers today.
No, I'm not.
We're talking about Southampton.
What's that, bud?
We're talking about Southampton.
Okay.
Should they have been kicked out?
No, they should not have.
What would have been a fair result?
It's a bit harsh, I think. I reckon maybe a big fine and point deductions.
My final stop is this store where many fans will come and get their red and white balloons ahead of a trip to Wembley.
Secured some tickets, paid the money, paid a driver. There's guys there who've worked all day long, worked all week long, and done their week's money on this, and they can't go.
Pete, as a Saints fan, can you sum up your feelings in one word?
I think crush does it, really. Crush does it.
Matt Graveling, BBC South Today.
Yeah, interesting thoughts from people in Southampton there. Now, shortly we'll be crossing to Sophie Law in our Southampton newsroom for the rest of today's news. But let's just recap where we are with this Spygate situation. There is an appeal happening. That's happening right now. That involves another independent disciplinary panel with 3 people, and that decision will be final. Let's delve into that a bit more by bringing in a guest here, Dr. Christina Philippou, who's an accounting and sport finance expert from the University of Portsmouth. Nearly got that right. Where does this rank? The statement has given lots of kind of evidence of other cases involving football clubs. What was your take on the sanction that Saints have been given?
Yeah, it's an interesting point. There obviously have been other sanctions before. There have been other cases. The point is there's never been this case. The closest was Leeds in 2019. which had one of the same rules breached, which was 3.2, which was 3.4, which is all about effectively good faith, making sure you do things the right way. However, after that, the EFL decided that that wasn't quite right and it should be a sporting sanction, and therefore they brought in a new rule, which is the other one that Southampton have been found in breach of, and that's effectively the one that they've faced these sanctions from. All the other cases that have been cited in the statement aren't the same. You know, some relate to administration, some relate to the Premier League, which have different rules. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the outcome of the appeal is going to be.
There was a lot of detail in that statement, and one line really stood out. It said, you know, the Commission was entitled to impose a sanction. It was not, though, however, they'll argue, entitled to impose one that's manifestly disproportionate. Does this feel disproportionate to you, in your expert opinion?
Ultimately, it was a sporting breach, right? They got a sporting advantage because, you know, they were able to do things, even if it's very hard to prove in reality, right? So what you do is you kind of go, here is an advantage that you've gained, therefore the proportionality or the proportion of what you get has to be an equivalent thing, which is a sporting sanction. Sporting sanction is either points deductions or expulsion, right? And that is what the sanctions are. So from that perspective, you know, it might be harsh, and I totally feel for the fans, I feel for the players, I feel for everybody involved, because it does feel harsh. But ultimately, you know, they broke a rule and they got a sanction that relates to breaking that rule. So
thank you for your insight and your expert opinion on that. I really appreciate that. And obviously, the feeling of Southampton fans is one thing, but at the other end of the scale, you know, fans of Middlesbrough will have very different emotions. Let's cross live now to my colleague Alistair Gill, who's in our BBC Look North newsroom. How is everyone feeling in Middlesbrough this evening, Alistair?
Excited, Lewis. Nervous. There is obviously still some doubt, although that hasn't stopped 10,000 Middlesbrough fans from already snapping up tickets for Wembley. Although, as Southampton supporters well know, having a ticket for the final is no guarantee of your team actually being in it. But as things stand, pending that Southampton appeal, it will be Middlesbrough who take on Hull on Saturday, and that was the only appropriate outcome as far as Middlesbrough Football Club were concerned. That was the statement they made ahead of the result of yesterday's hearing. It is a view that would be shared by Middlesbrough fans, although there was plenty of shock and disbelief at the severity of the sanction against Southampton. The outcome is that Middlesbrough have been back in training at Rockcliffe Hall today with no cameras allowed to look at that, and fans have been dealing with some complicated logistics as they try and make their way to London on Saturday. The East Coast Main Line is undergoing engineering works on Saturday, so it'll be a difficult journey there. The hotels are in high demand, it's going to be expensive, but fans are excited to be there because this is an opportunity to see Middlesbrough potentially return to the Premier League for the first time in 9 years.
Alistair, yeah, thank you. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out with this appeal that we're still awaiting the outcome. Now, obviously, we heard earlier Matt spoke to a number of people here in Southampton. Matt, you've also been having people getting in contact on social media. What other Saints fans have been saying?
We have, Lewis. Lots of mixed reaction and people getting in touch on the BBC Your Voice page. Robert Ames got in touch. He says the expulsion extremely vindictive, a harsh penalty that may have cost the club £100 million. He says it goes way outside the boundaries of fairness. But a disagreement from Damien Brighton. He says, I've supported the Saints for 46 years. He thinks that surely somebody in the management team knew that this was breaking the rules. And Michael Powell, slightly different take. He wants to know, is he getting his money back? He's bought his train ticket yesterday. Will he get a refund?
That's going to be really interesting, isn't it? People have put a lot of money on hotels, trains, and obviously their tickets here at the club. What's the ruling there in terms of trying to get your cash back?
Well, it's not cheap, is it? I mean, people follow their team all around the country. A few people I spoke to earlier spent hundreds of pounds on tickets, still waiting to find out how they can get their ticket money back. With regards to train and Michael's point, we have heard from South Western Railway who said that they're waiting on the outcome, like we all are, of this hearing before giving more information. But regular terms and conditions do apply. But if you have a standard ticket, you can apply for a refund up to 11:59 p.m. the day before you travel.
Okay, thanks for that. That's really great insight for that. Watch this space. Obviously, it all depends on this appeal, doesn't it, that we're hoping to get some information on at some point today. Now, right now, you can watch a live Spygate special that's happening right now on BBC Radio Solent, or you can listen back to that on BBC Sounds with the Saints commentator Adam Blackmore leading proceedings there and really diving into this in a bit more detail as well to find out what's going to be happening with this appeal. But from now, right here at St Mary's, we're going to hand you back to Sophie Law in our Southampton newsroom, who will round up the rest of today's news. Back to you, Sophie.
Thank you, Lewis. We will return to St Mary's later in the show, and we will, of course, bring you the good news sports story of the day from Bournemouth very soon. But first, here's a roundup of the other stories making your headlines this evening. A Sikh man who's accused of the murder of a first-year Southampton University student has told a court how he acted in self-defence after the teenager racially abused him and knocked off his turban. Vikram Digwa, who is 23, is charged with the murder of 18-year-old Henry Nowak. Mr Digwa's mother, Kiran Kaur, is accused of assisting an offender by removing a weapon from the scene. They both deny the charges against them. Bryony Leyland reports.
Henry Nowak was a first-year student at the University of Southampton. He's pictured here leaving his hall of residence for a night out with friends in December last year. The prosecution say he was fatally stabbed by 23-year-old Vikram Digwa as he walked home along Belmont Road, sustaining 5 knife injuries. Giving evidence to the court, Mr Digwa, who's a Sikh, said he became involved in a violent altercation after Henry Nowak, who he said seemed drunk, deliberately barged into him and recorded him on his phone.
Vikram Digwa said Henry Nowak used a racially offensive term and said, "You think you're a bad man," in a threatening manner. Mr Digwa said that after he'd grabbed the phone off Henry Nowak punched him in the face and punched his turban off. He said Mr Nowak pulled his hair and said, "I'm going to kill you."
The court heard that Vikram Digwa was carrying a Sikh religious knife called a kirpan with a 21cm blade over his clothing. He said he stabbed Henry Nowak twice in the back of his leg with it because he thought Mr Nowak was going to use the kirpan on him.
Vikram Digwa said holding his kirpan, he pushed Henry Nowak with both hands. He said he didn't mean to stab him in the chest and didn't know that he had. Asked why he didn't tell police who arrived at the scene that Henry Nowak had been stabbed, he said, "I was scared." He told the court, "I'm sorry that it happened." Vikram Digwa denies the charges against him and the trial continues. Bryony Leyland, BBC South Today at Southampton Crown Court.
The Prime Minister has said he will ask his new Health Secretary to explore the possibility of widening the use of the meningitis B vaccine following the death of teenager Lewis Waters from Reading last week. 3 other Berkshire children are also being treated for the infection. The issue was raised today at Prime Minister's questions by Bognor Regis and Littlehampton MP Alison Griffiths, who has personal experience of the disease.
At 19, I was in a coma after contracting bacterial meningitis. I lost 70% of my hearing and needed open heart surgery. The MenB vaccine has saved lives since its introduction in 2015 for infants, but there remains a gap for high-risk adolescents whom the JCVI has not vaccinated. Following the devastating outbreaks within this cohort in Reading, Canterbury and Weymouth, the JCVI is finally reviewing the evidence base. So can the Prime Minister tell the House what are the government's next steps? When will they happen? And will he make tackling meningitis a priority for his new Secretary of State and arrange a meeting for Meningitis Now and me?
Yes, I will do both of those things. And can I thank her for raising her own experience here to highlight the issue. I think the thoughts of the whole House will be with families and friends of the young person who died. Can I thank all the public health specialists working in Reading to make sure those affected are receiving appropriate treatment. And her question reminds us that vaccines do save lives and we must do everything we can in relation to that.
A man's been charged in connection with a crash that killed a charity founder in 2024. 68-year-old Tim Joss, who founded the charity Aesop Arts and Society, was riding a bike near his home in Bryce Norton in Oxfordshire in January. He was hit by a car travelling in the same direction and died at the scene. 22-year-old Kieran Kilminster from Winchester has been charged with causing death by careless or inconsiderate driving. Time to focus on some positive sports news from the south. Andy Moon is live in Bournemouth for us after an historic night at the Vitality Stadium. Andy.
Sophie, in any normal day, this would be the biggest football story in town. AFC Bournemouth, who within the last 20 years nearly went out of business, very nearly went out of the Football League, next season for the first time will play in European competition. The builders have moved in behind us. They're already starting their summer improvement works. Bournemouth will definitely at least be in the Europa League. They could still make the Champions League. Let's look back on how they did it with a stunning night last night taking on Manchester City. The stakes were high for what was set to be the penultimate match for both managers at their clubs.
The backroom staff, the coach.
Afterwards, the fans saluted the players.
Can we give it up? It's the main man, Andoni Iraola!
And an emotional departing manager.
This group of players kept believing, and I feel we all owe them a little bit, and to have something that we can touch. We have Europa League. We can even have more. You never know. And I just want to say thank you, big thank you.
Exciting days ahead for the supporters.
We've been coming for nearly 30 years. We never thought we'd ever see this. It's just beyond, beyond anything. You just have to listen.
We have been here, you know, when Steve Fletcher and it all went wrong. We've been there ever since. So this is absolutely out of this world for us.
I've seen us in Divi 4, Divi 3, Divi 2, and now we're in Europe next year.
A night of celebration that will live long in the memory for Cherries fans, young and old. Let's bring in Bournemouth fan and podcaster Kirk Tovey. Kirk, first of all, just put into context where Bournemouth have been, what it means to be where they are now.
Incredible night last night, by the way. Up there with the Bolton night, Monday night when we got promoted to the Premier League. And all I've been thinking about today is how we've gone from 17 years ago being on -17, defeating the odds, surviving in the Football League and surviving as a club to where we are right now under this ownership of Bill Foley in the last few seasons and under the head coach leadership of Andoni Iraola. We're thriving on this pitch. We're on a 17 unbeaten game run, and last night led to us ending up playing in Europe next season. It's been a dream of ours since we've cemented ourselves as a Premier League side. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a big summer for the club. They've got to be able to give the team every chance to play in 4 competitions and help Marco Rosa, but looking forward to it.
Yeah, you mentioned Iraola, him and Marco Senesi last night. That was farewell for him. How sad is it to say goodbye?
Yeah, Marco Senesi has been absolutely amazing for us. Marco Senesi has been absolutely amazing for us. We're going to miss his left wand. So good. He's been a leader for that back line for us. And Andoni Iraola, I'm gutted he's leaving. He's been an absolute exceptional head coach for us. He's got his reasons for leaving. He says he's not gutted about leaving and it's the right moment. Maybe he is gutted a little bit, but he's handing over the baton. He's going out on top and he's going to good places. But for us, thank you, Andoni. He's done absolutely exceptional stuff. It's been a great ride for us.
Lastly, don't even know the competition, let alone who you could face, but you must be just eyeing up a few away grounds in Europe that you might be dreaming of visiting next season.
It's going to be Europa League, which is absolutely fantastic. So there's some sides in there. We could be going to Spain, we could be going to France. If someone says to me Champions League football could be on the calendar, I'm talking about Madrid, I'm talking about Munich, I'm talking about Barcelona. It's dreams, isn't it? But we know we're going to be playing Europa League football. Let's see what happens on Sunday against Nottingham Forest. It's going to be a party in Nottingham. And then let's look forward to next season.
Kirk, thank you very much for your time. So, as you said, Bournemouth could still be in the Champions League. If results go their way this week, they would need Aston Villa to win the Europa League and some other scores to go their way. But whatever happens, next year is going to be an historic one for AFC Bournemouth, and one the fans who've seen some bad times here, you know, are going to really treasure.
Andy Moon, thank you ever so much. Well, Bournemouth are dreaming of Spain and France, but we're here in the south, so time to see what the weather is up to for today and the next few days. Let's cross to Ian Ferguson for the forecast.
Hello, very good evening to you. It was a beautiful start to the day here at Studland in Dorset. That's between Swanage up to Bournemouth, I think, if memory serves me right. Plenty of blue sky there, a really taste of what will come over the next few days, which will be dominated by high pressure sitting initially at least out towards the southeast of us across France, and in turn we'll start to inherit ever warmer air spreading up from this sort of direction on a southerly flow. With time, as we head into the bank holiday weekend, we're going to find that high pressure becomes dominant right across us, and that will continue this warming process in situ. Now, by the tail end of Friday, a bit of a complication may well be sufficient destabilisation to get some showers or possible thunderstorms into parts of the region overnight into early Saturday, but there's a lot of uncertainty on that for now. Overall, a good deal of dry weather, and with the last of a few showers clearing this evening, it will be the dry conditions that dominate then through the course of tonight, but with a tendency later in the night for more cloud spill across from the west, courtesy of a weak warm front which will be predominantly up towards the northwest of us. Pretty mild night, as you can see. Tomorrow then we'll continue with initially quite a bit of cloud around, maybe a bit of mistiness in a few spots, but with time, as we start to usher in drier air out of the near continent, we'll whittle away that cloud cover, increasingly more in the way of blue sky and sunshine developing later through the afternoon, and increasingly warm. Those temperatures starting to head up, widely so, into the low 20s. And my goodness, they're certainly going to go a good deal higher than that as we head then through Friday and on into the weekend. As you can see, quite a margin above average for the time of year. Plentiful, dry, sunny weather about, just with that caveat that there may well be some shower activity Friday night into early Saturday, but we'll keep you updated. Bye-bye.
Now back to our sports editor, Lewis Coombs, live at St Mary's. It was this time last night the news was breaking, Lewis. Another interesting evening.
Yes, Sophie, indeed, very interesting. Just to recap what's happened here at St Mary's today, Southampton Football Club have appealed the decision to kick them out of the Championship playoff final and deduct them 4 points for next season. They've released a statement today admitting what they did was wrong, saying supporters deserve better. An appeal meeting is happening right now. So the big question is, does that appeal committee agree with their stance? We'll have an update on tonight's late news with Tom Hepworth. But for now, it's goodbye.